calls me and he's like, hey, I just got kicked out of my house. And I'm like, what? Why? And he proceeds to tell me, my baby mama found out about you. And I'm thinking, what the hell does that have to do with your living space?
So strong.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. As you can see by the title, I am doing a story time. It has been so long since I've done a story time, and I feel like it's time to start a new series called Dating Horror Stories. Because your girl has been through it, okay? I'm 27. I'm a seasoned ass bitch. I've been all around the block. But like, not like that. But yeah, you guys, I am starting a new series. So if you are a returning subscriber, hi, how are you? I love you so much. But if you're new here or you've seen videos and you're not subscribed yet, you should subscribe to my channel because it'll just mean so freaking much to me. Plus, I have so much coming for this channel. I keep saying channel, so I feel like it sounds weird. You know what I mean? But yeah, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe because it'll just make me the happiest girl in the world. And also at the end of the video, like the video down below if you like the video or if you like me. But without any further ado, if you want to know how I got myself in a predicament where I was a side hoe and I didn't know, then go ahead and just keep on watching. This story takes place a few years after high school. I was in a weird time in my life where I was planning to move to Las Vegas, and I had been hurt by somebody else. Well, I wasn't hurt by somebody else. I hurt somebody else, and then like it hurt me in return, which I'm not the victim, but like I was kind of mourning the loss of something that never started, if you know what I mean. So like I did not want to date. So I was working at this place that I named Dice in a past story time. I also briefly talked about this relationship in a past story time. The story time was about my stalker. I'll link it up right here if you guys want to watch it after the video. I'll also put it down in the description box below to make it easy for you guys. But that video actually still gets watched to this day. I get notifications on it and it comes on my analytics all the time, so thank you so much. But that video, I could have done a better job on it, I'm just saying. So I did want to talk about this brief relationship into further detail because this relationship was like nothing that I expected to happen. So I was working at this place called Dice. When I started working at this place, it was an electronics store. I think I already said that. But there was this guy, which I also named Clark. I named him Clark because a couple other girls thought he was so hot and they were like, oh my god, he looks like Clark Kent. So that's why I named him Clark. Thank you so much, girlies. When I first hired into this place, he was already working there. I don't know for how long, but I did see him and I did think that he was cute, but I also thought he was either a player or he was like way out of my league, and I just wasn't interested. I thought he was fine, but I just wasn't interested because, like I said, I was mourning the loss of something that I fucked up, and I was moving to Vegas anyways, so what's the point of starting something with somebody when my headspace wasn't right and also I was leaving? As time goes by, I start noticing him at work, and I noticed that he doesn't really talk to anybody. He's not a flirt, he's not a player, he's literally just like to himself 100%. So there was no plan for me to talk to him or anything until one day we end up working together in the returns section. So when you're in returns, there's two people that you work with. It's you and one other person, and you're basically in front of a table, and then it's you, and then the other person is like looking at you, and then you take customers on this side, right? So this store was not busy. Sometimes it would only be one person over there, but for whatever reason, we both wanted to go to returns, and I didn't want to stand there and be awkward with him because it was cool when you had returns with a friend, but I didn't know him. I didn't really talk to him, so I thought it was gonna be a little awkward. I don't remember if I had returns for 1 hour or 2 hours, but I know him and I were there together. So as I'm there in returns, I decide to make the most of my time and be a good worker by doing all the go backs and just getting everything in order while he was taking customers. Like I said, there wasn't a lot of customers, so it's not like I made him take customers while I was doing bullshit in the back. So I finished everything back there, and I think it was probably 2 hours because I remember finishing everything and being like, damn, there's still like a lot of time that I have to be here. What do I do? So I go back, standing right in front of him, and I take out my phone, I'm texting, whatever, and lo and behold, he speaks. He looks at me, he's like, "You're Nikki, right?" And at the time, my name tag, or wherever I work, my name tag usually always says Nicole because it's like my government name. But everybody else who knows me in real life knows me as Nikki. So he looks at me, he's like, "You're Nikki, right?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Do you know Sophia, my niece, not my niece, but he's like, do you know Sophia?" So Sophia was this girl that I had beef with back in high school. Her and I did not get along. It was over, boy. It was very stupid, and I should have got my ass beat, but I didn't, and I should have. So I don't claim high school Nikki. I don't know who she is. We don't talk about her. Let's just move on. I had beef with this girl Sophia and her boyfriend. Her boyfriend and I didn't have beef. That was a problem. He was my best friend. When Clark is asking me if I know Sophia, I'm like, no fucking way. At this point, Sophia and I didn't really have any beef. I didn't even talk to the guy anymore, my best friend. We weren't best friends anymore, and we talked every now and then, but we didn't talk to be like, "Hey, what are you doing? Want to kick it?" No, like we talked for important things that were lingering. You know what I'm talking about? When you need to discuss a few things, or like he needed help with like a resume, or little things like that where it's like, yeah, I'll help you out, but like we're not cool like that. So that's how me and this guy were. That beef was so long ago, I didn't even want to talk about it. I kind of just rolled my eyes because I was so over the situation. So when he said that, I was like, oh my god. I'm like, "Sophia who?" And he's like, "Sophia blank's boyfriend." I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm just like, "Yeah, I know them." And he's like, "Oh." And he looks at me, he's like, "So you're the famous Nikki?" And I'm like, I mean, I guess. And I literally remember him saying that, like, "You're the famous Nikki." And I was just like, present, that's me. So embarrassed. And that was all that we kind of talked about. He kind of said a couple things, and then we like moved on. I didn't want to talk about them. That was just... So after that, we were done with returns. We went our separate ways. We didn't really talk. And as time went on, I started noticing that our schedules were becoming the same. And I don't know if they had always been the same and I just never noticed because I didn't kick it with him, or if our schedules had both changed and all of a sudden we're working almost every shift together. So that started happening, and as that started happening, he started talking to me more. But the thing that I couldn't stand is like, he would talk to me, he would use Sophia as an icebreaker all the time. And it wasn't even just Sophia, it was one of Sophia's friends who he said was his cousin. I'm gonna name her Crystal, right? He started using Sophia and Crystal as ways to talk to me. I remember one time he was like, "Oh my god, I was talking to Crystal," and he wasn't talking, I don't know why I made that voice. He was like, "I was talking to Crystal, Crystal wants to work with us." And I was just like, "Oh, cool." And like he would say things like that, or he'd be like, "Hey, I saw Sophia and blank at the party I went to last weekend." And I'd be like, he was using them as an icebreaker to talk to me, and it was so weird because he would say something about him and then he'd be like, "So what did you do last weekend?" He would use that to talk to me. So after a while, he was doing it every single time. I got to the point where I was like, "Hey, you don't have to bring up Sophia and Crystal every time you want to talk to me. You can just come talk to me and just say hi. You don't have to do all that." And he just started laughing. So ever since I told him that, that's when he would just talk to me. We would ring up next to each other. We would go to lunch together. We would hang out afterwards. We were literally starting to talk and hang out all the time. Now, I didn't really know much about his home life, but since we had our breaks together and our lunches together, we would be with other people sometimes, and those other people would ask about his daughter. So I knew he had a little girl. He started talking about her a little to me, but it was never like a focus of conversation. And I also didn't know what was going on with his baby mama. So he never talked about her. Nobody else ever talked about her. It was just an unspoken topic until one day. So one day him and I are hanging out and we end up going to lunch together. Actually, I was off of work and he had lunch. So we ended up hanging out together, and instead of going to eat, we went to get alcohol, as you do when you're young. So we went to go get alcohol and we were chilling in my car. I did drive a stick shift. I drove a Genesis and I missed that car so freaking much, but I did drive a stick shift, and I don't know why, but guys always wanted to say, "Let me drive your stick shift." They'd always want to drive my car, and I low-key loved it when they'd stall. I don't know why, it like gave me so much power. I would let him drive my car. He would stall sometimes and I just thought it was so funny. But anyways, I would let him drive my car like to the liquor store, literally not even a block away, and we went to go get liquor, and we parked on one of the streets and we were just drinking together, and then we ended up driving back to Dice. We weren't far from Dice. It was literally less than a block away. It was like a 2-second drive if anything, so I wasn't letting him drive my car all around town, okay? We're sitting back at the parking lot at Dice, and he has to go back to work in about 10 minutes, right? So he's obviously in the driver's seat and I'm in the passenger seat, and I have to get out to get back into my car. He has to get out to go back to work. So he gets out and he comes close to me and he's like, bye. And you know that awkward moment? It's like after a date, even though it was not a date, okay? Obviously we fucking got buzzed. It's like that awkward moment after a date. What do? Do we shake hands? Do we hug? And out of nowhere, we end up just kissing. I remember I did have red lipstick on and it got on his mouth, so it was like a little joke. I wiped his mouth, whatever, and I was like, okay, go back into work, make sure you have no more lipstick on your lips. I don't need people knowing our business, even though everybody knew. So pretty much everybody at work knew at this point that him and I were kicking it, but because we kissed, I kind of felt like, oh, we're getting a little bit too close, so we needed to have a talk because I didn't know what was going on with his baby mama. One day I casually asked him about her, and he straight up told me he was not with her, and he did tell me that he didn't know if he was going to get back with her someday, but not anytime in the near future. He told me that they just don't work, they do co-parent, but that is it. So I was like, cool, great, awesome, in the clear, you're single, I'm single, good to go. But I also had to tell him, hey, this can't be anything serious because I'm leaving in about 4 months. I'm moving to Las Vegas. And he seemed really bummed about it, but he was just like, okay, I get it, I understand. And I was like, okay, cool. So this is just a fling. This is just something we're having fun with, and then we'll go back to our normal lives. After this conversation happens, we end up, you know, texting all the time, Snapchatting all the time, hanging out all the time. I'm telling you, I was with this dude like at least 5 days a week, if not more. I was with him all the time. We would hang out after work, we would hang out on our breaks, we'd hang out on our day offs. But there was a little red flag, okay? On Fridays, I wouldn't see him. We would text a little bit, not as much as normal. We would text a little bit, but I would never see him on Friday. And then Sundays, I wouldn't hear from him at all. But to my knowledge, he told me he was with his daughter on Sundays. I'd never asked about Fridays because, like I said, I did talk to him a little bit and I just thought, oh, it's the weekend. I was going out at the time. He can do whatever he wants for just a fling. I didn't question it. Sundays, I also didn't question because, like I said, he told me he was with his daughter. And there was even some Sundays he would send me pictures of her and, you know, little things like that, but we would never really talk on Sundays. I didn't really think much of it. It wasn't a big deal, but every other day of the week, I talked to him, I hung out with him. Everybody knew about us. So as time went on, we were getting really close. Really close. And okay, here's where the situation gets a little sticky because, like I said, we were supposed to just be a fling. I did start having a little bit of feelings for him, but it wasn't heavy feelings. It was just like, damn, when I move, I'm gonna miss this guy. One week, my whole family leaves out of town. They go to Alabama to visit my uncle. I didn't go because I worked, nor did I ask for the days off because I wanted to be home alone for the week. During that week, Clark and I hung out every day that week, literally every day. We were both calling out of work. We were just kicking it all day. We were just hanging out all day. We went swimming at my house. Like, we made breakfast and lunch, and like, it was just a good time. We started getting really close. Well, that week, we decided to have a get-together with my friends and his friends, and he was gonna make dinner for all of us. We're gonna have like a little dinner party and then drink after. So he ends up making all of us food, and then like his friends come over, my friends come over, we're all hanging out, and then the nighttime comes. It's like 10 or 11, and he has to go, right? So he's like, I'm gonna go home. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. My friends were still over, his friends were leaving too. So he's like, I'm gonna go home, I'll see you tomorrow. He was gonna come over the next day early in the morning. I was like, okay, cool, no big deal. And throughout this whole week, he never slept over. I never asked him to sleep over. He never asked to sleep over. He was leaving, and then I'm telling him bye. I kiss him goodbye, and he looks at me and he says, can you take a guess? Can you take a little gander of what he said? It's 3 words. I'm sure you know. I'm sure you know. He tells me he loves me. I was so in shock. Literally, I was so taken back that it like went over my head, and I didn't even react to it. I just told him, you're coming over tomorrow, right? I didn't even process it until after. He leaves. I walk back into the house with all my friends, and I'm just standing there confused. I'm just like, did he say that right now? Have y'all ever been in that situation where you don't know? This has happened to me twice, okay? So I was really confused. So I was very taken aback because I was like, did he just tell me he loves me? I'm sitting there and I blurt out to my friends, I think he just told me he loved me. And my friends are like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I think that's what he said. And they're like, well, did you say it back? I'm like, no, not at all. I was just very confused and I didn't love him either. And also him and I had only been hanging out for maybe 3 months to 4 months, and I was about to leave to Vegas. Literally, like I had a couple weeks left and I was leaving to Vegas. So I was like, oh, I just wasn't in love, you know? As the day goes on or the night goes on, my friends start to leave and he ends up calling me and he's like, hey, can I go back over? I'm like, yeah, what's going on? He's like, I can sleep over. I want to sleep over with you. And I'm like, what do you mean you can sleep over? I didn't say anything, but that was a red flag in my head. I was like, you can sleep over. You're 24 years old. Like, who are you asking to sleep over? Your mama? He comes back and he ends up spending the night that night, and we end up getting really close, you guys. It was a really good night, and I remember thinking, oh shit, this is too much. What are we gonna do? The next morning we wake up and he ends up making us breakfast, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, hey, we should talk. And he's like, yeah, I agree. So I was like, I want to know the truth because I feel like things are getting really heavy between us, and I don't know what's going on with you and your baby mama. Like, you don't talk about her. You never told me anything about her. I know you said what you said, but like, you also said you might be getting back with her, and I just want to know, when I leave to Vegas, are you getting back with her? What is going on with y'all? And he proceeds to tell me this long story about them and the things that she had done in their relationship, and I felt genuinely bad for him. But nowhere in that explanation did he tell me that he was with her. You know what I mean? Even to this day, he says he wasn't with her, but okay. He tells me this long story, which I cannot tell you guys. Not my story to tell. You know what I mean? He told me this story and I'm like, oh shit. In my head, I'm like, you're never gonna be with her. You're never getting back with her. But he did say it was very complicated, and I understood why it was complicated, and it wasn't because I don't know the truth. I don't even know if the story is true. From the story, I understood why he felt like he needed to be with her. You get what I'm saying? Even though or not be with her, but he needed to be in her good graces. Then he proceeds to tell me that he not only has a daughter, but he has a son. And I'm like, you have a son? How come you never talked about your son? And then he tells me this whole story. Actually, this happened before. So the whole story he tells me about his daughter and his son and like all that situation with the baby mama, like this is all what made me feel bad for him. So I was like, oh, okay, I get it. But he still told me that they weren't together. I'm like, okay, cool. So then he tells me that he basically wants to try doing long distance, and he does not want to be without me. He really has so many feelings for me, and this and that and this and that. So me thinking, wow, this guy is really into me, and I am not a believer in long distance. I will never do long distance. It's just not for me. But in that moment, I was like, maybe I should try it. I was open to the idea of trying long distance for him. So I already knew that him and I were getting way too deep than it was supposed to be, and we were supposed to just be like a fun fling, and I was gonna leave and go to Vegas and be single and have fun, right? Right, okay. Time goes on and we have 2 more weeks to hang out with each other. So fast forward 2 weeks, it is now my last day in California, and we planned this whole date together, and we literally hang out for hours on my last day. We had like this whole day, and we hung out all the way until it was like super late at night, right? So we hang out the whole day. We decided that we are going to try long distance. So we're still not together at this point. We didn't have a title or anything. I moved to Vegas and everything is good. We're texting every single day. We're Snapchatting each other every day. Like, we're sending each other videos and stuff, and like we're just still talking, and we're talking about how we're gonna meet up. We're gonna meet halfway once a week. We're like saying, I'll drive to Barstow, you drive to Barstow, we'll hang out throughout the day, like find stuff to do out there, and then we'll come back home. We just wanted to see each other as often as possible. So we're making all these plans or whatever, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm actually doing long distance with this guy and whatever. So that never happened. A couple weeks, I would say maybe almost a month, I was living in Vegas. I get a call from him, and he calls me and he's like, hey, I just got kicked out of my house. And I'm like, what? Why? And he proceeds to tell me, my baby mama found out about you. And I'm thinking, what the hell does that have to do with your living space? The hell does that have to do with your living space? And I just want to tell you guys, I've picked him up from his house. Okay, we used to switch off. He would drive sometimes to my house. I would drive sometimes to his house. And I would go in his driveway and pick him up. in that house. So I'm thinking, what does that have to do with your living situation? And he tells me, oh, I live with her. I'm sorry. You live with your baby mama? This is news to me. Okay. What the fuck do you want me to do? What do you want me to do about it, homeless ass? So I honestly, I wasn't even mad when he was telling me. I was just like, okay, you're fucking lame, so that's cool. You've been lying to me this whole time, but you know what? I'm not even gonna trip over you because like you were the one that was in love with me. So like, so I tell him, you know what you need to do? You need to go back home to your family and your girlfriend because obviously you're still together. And you need to beg for her back, and me and you, we do not need to talk ever again. So that's what happened. Until about 2 months later when I saw him. Him and I don't speak. Literally nothing. Like, I don't hear from him. I don't reach out to him. Closed, done, nada. I was already dealing with another boy, which is a whole nother story that I can never talk about. But yeah, so for some couple days I needed to go back to Cali because I had to figure out some things with another boy that lived in Cali that I have a lot of history with. I had to go back to Cali and handle some shit, and I forgot a phone charger. So I went down with one of my really close friends, Jamie. It was her, me, and then one of her other friends, right? We go down and we're hanging out in Cali, and Jamie wanted to go to DICE and I needed a charger, so perfect, let's go. We head over to DICE. Before we go to DICE, I'm like, can you ask some other girl, I'm like, can you ask blah 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 to make sure that Clark isn't working because I don't want to see him, like I want nothing to do with him. So she's like, yeah, for sure. So she texts blah 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 blah, says, oh no, he's not working today. I'm like, cool, perfect, let's go. So we head over to DICE and I pick up a phone charger and I'm walking towards the front, like the checkout area, and who do I see? Clark. So I'm like, oh fuck. I tell Jamie, can you buy this for me? I'll Venmo you. I'm gonna go wait by the exit. She's like, yeah, for sure. So she goes up to the counter and Clark ends up being her cashier. Well, he never rings her up. He literally closes his drawer, looks around, and places his eyes on mine. And literally, this boy should have just ran because he paced towards me like he needed to tell me something. The whole time, Jamie's friend, the girl that we were with, is watching this shit go down, right? So I'm standing there and obviously he's walking right towards me, so I can't even pretend I don't see him. I can't even hide because we literally locked eyes. So I was like, fuck. Comes up to me, basically out of breath. He's like, I need to talk to you. And I'm like, okay. Where's your girlfriend at though? But I'm like, okay, what's up? He's like, I don't have a phone. And I'm like, okay. And he pulls out a burner phone. He pulls out like a little flip phone. He's like, this is all I have. My baby mama broke my phone that night, so I don't have any way to get in contact with you. And I'm like, why would you want to get in contact with me? It's literally your home and your family. And me, I'm nothing. Why would you want to get in contact with me? But also, I knew the feelings that him and I had for each other, and I'm not saying like I would ever try to pursue things with him while he was with her. No. But I did understand it's hard to cut people off, especially when you're falling in love with them. I wasn't falling in love with him per se, but I think he really was falling in love with me. I kind of get it. I'm not going to be mean, obviously, and I mean, low-key, he's fine as hell, so whatever. I'm just playing. But I was just like, I'm sorry to hear that. He's like, yeah, I don't have any way to get in contact with you, not through Snapchat, not through anything. And I'm like, okay, hope you get your phone fixed soon. So he's like, I just really wanted to talk to you, like I missed you, and he's like telling me all this stuff, whatever. In my head, I'm like, if you only knew why I was down here. Basically, that was the last time that I saw him. We ended up just saying bye to each other and leaving. I left. He ended up getting a smartphone, and he would hit me up from time to time. I remember like a year and a half, maybe 2 years after everything went down, he messaged me drunk telling me that he was in love with me and that he was drinking, but that he was in fact still in love with me. So yeah, I mean, that's that's cool, I guess. Him and I never pursued anything after that. It was just done. That's pretty much how it ended. I saw him at DICE that day. He came up to me frantic, talking about how he needs to talk to me, and he has a burner phone, and that's why he hasn't hit me up in months or 2 months, and he never even said sorry to me. Nothing ever progressed between him and I, obviously, for obvious reasons, because like, I'm not down. Basically, his baby mama found out about me, and then also his cousin that I had talked about prior was not his cousin, it was her cousin, and her cousin was really close to Sophia. So after everything happened, Sophia and his baby mama decided to get together and hate me in their little friendship group, hate me together, call me a homewrecker, and this and that, which, okay, leave your mans. They ended up taking a picture together, flipping the camera off, and I know it was to me because it wasn't to their mans because they took them back. So great job. That is a story about the time that I was accused of being a homewrecker twice. That was literally the worst possible outcome of me dating this guy, because literally his baby mama linked up with this girl who fucking hated me, and like they hated me for the same reasons, even though the situations were totally different, and I'm not a fucking homewrecker. Oh, I fucking hate girls. Y'all know that your dudes be lying, but you want to be mad. But you want to be mad at me. And this is coming from a girl who just got cheated on. I'm never gonna fucking be mad at another girl because my man is lying. My man is the one who's supposed to be faithful to me. My man is the one who owes me respect. I know. I've heard it all before. Like I said, I've heard the bullshit. I've heard the lies. I've heard the, oh, we're only together because this, and it's complicated because this, and I don't really want to be with her. Like, bullshit. You don't have to be with nobody that you don't want to be with. Y'all getting mad at the wrong people. If you got cheated on, be mad at your mans. Don't be mad at the other girl. She don't owe you nothing. She don't know you. She don't owe you shit. She'll get her karma. It's not your job to do it. I'm just saying, please do not stoop to that level. You have too much class and too much respect for yourself to ever do that, and quite frankly, you're way too fine to be acting a fucking fool. So that is it for today's story time. I hope that I finished it well, because I know it's like really weird because I don't really have an ending to the story. Pretty much the ending is me telling him I gotta go, and then Jamie's friend telling me, oh my god, you can tell he's like so in love with you by the way he looks at you, and then like me never talking to him, and then him hitting me up here and there because he got his phone back. And yeah, that's pretty much, I don't even know the last thing that I said to him, so I just, it's like a weird way to end the story, but like pretty much that's what happened to me. And I have so many more dating horror stories to talk about, and I'm so excited for this series. So if you liked this video and you want to see more, then subscribe to my channel and also like the video down below, because it helps me out so much. Since I'm a small YouTuber, my content doesn't really get pushed out, but if you're liking, commenting, sharing, and just like, you know, being a part of my channel, it really helps me to get noticed by other people. So if you could do that, it would mean so much to me. If you made it to the end, thank you so much. I love you so much, and I will see you hopefully in my next video. Bye!